Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Welcome to Boss Talks. This is an amazing podcast that is just designed to allow you to take the reins of your life, to get behind the steering wheel and drive yourself along the journey to get your hopes, goals, and dreams. And you are worthy to have them. But it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some knowledge because, if you only have hard work, well, then you fall into the category of you can run west as hard as you possibly can, but you're never going to see the sunrise. Then there's the other group of people that they know what to do, but they don't take the action. Well, here, this podcast that's put on by myself and my amazing business partner, Christine Drummond, we want you to do both. We want to give you the best information we can possibly find on planet Earth, learn from our mistakes, learn from our triumphs, and get what you want in life. But there is a fee. And the fee is that you must share this because we know that you are going to get value from it. So leave us a review. If you loved it, leave us a loved review. If you don't like it, let us know. If you have a topic that you'd like us to cover, let us know. But share this out with someone that needs to hear it because at the time of recording, we are moving into what a winter season, not just in the actual natural seasons of the planet, but also in an economic, in a consciousness level, and people need to wake up. So if you know someone who needs to wake up, then share this with them, help them out. So today we want to talk about that it's really time to stop and think. That's the title of the podcast, and there's never been a time where there's more connectivity, there's been more ability to get information. And I don't know if anyone's stopped to actually think about this, but is it actually good information that you're absorbing? There's no shortage of opinions out there. Everyone can hide behind a microphone. Ironically, we are now. They can hide behind a camera. They can hide behind a keyboard. They can post anything. And there's so many opinions. So how do you filter through all this and work out what's right for you? Well, today, that's what we're going to talk about, because right now, the best thing we could be doing is asking some super powerful questions. Now, Christine and I, that's what we do. We help people ask these questions. We shake them. We stop them while they're on the super highway of just knocking down the years. The dominoes, they fall so quickly. The years of our lives fall so quickly, and we can blink our eyes and we go, what the hell just happened? Decades can go by in a snap of a finger. So I think it's important to check in and ask some really powerful questions. And if you haven't been able to find a coach to help you do this, you're in for a treat today because we're going to help you do it. So Christine, how are you today?
Amazing, mate. And I love this topic because I don't know about you, but I see a lot of people out there that are just caught up in life. Life is happening to them. They're not taking time out to really ask these deeper questions to find out what it is that they really want. So much of our lives is dictated by what other people want of us. And it's very rare. Like, I work with a lot of mums, and a lot of mums don't even have time, to go to the bathroom on their own, let alone think about what it is and who they are. So I've got a couple of questions that I love to ask myself and just regularly check in on the answers to these, because I'm on a self-evolution process. I'm a never-ending project. I'm constantly looking to improve and become a better human being all the time. So I'm going to give the listeners some questions that I love to ask. And these are some questions that, Brendan Burchard has in his book, High Performance Habits as well, which is an awesome book to read if you want to, just really elevate yourself and elevate your life. But the first question is, who am I? Like, when was the last time you asked yourself that? Like, we're so worried about what other people are going to think of us that we don't even know who we are ourselves. So I'd really love you to think about that question today. Like, who am I? Who is Christine Drummond? You know, who are you? And what do you value? What's important to you? When you really sit down and think, what are my highest priorities in life? What do I value most? Like, what are those things? You know, is family on there? Is travel? Is integrity, honesty, loyalty, love, connection? Like, what do you really value in life? And then what are your strengths? What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to this world? What are your strengths? What makes you you better than anyone else? And then on the flip side of that, what are your areas for improvement? What are your weaknesses? What are the things you're not so good at? You know, we were talking off air and I listed a few of my weaknesses to Joel. Some of them can be your strengths and weaknesses at the same time. Like I'm a very variety driven person, but sometimes that bites me in the butt because I got to pull it back a bit and just get a bit more monotonous in things. The next question is, you know, what are your goals? What are you actually working towards? You know, not many people think of this. And I want you to think of this. What are your goals on a personal basis? What are your goals on a professional basis? What are your goals as a family unit? Like, what's your family working towards? What are you and your partner working towards? You know, you've got to have goals, guys. Otherwise, you're just a ship in the ocean with no direction towards land. You know, so what are your goals? And then the last question in this section is, what's your plan? Like, we come across a lot of people, don't we, Joel, that wished their wishes. I wish I had more money to do this. I wish I could do that. I wish I didn't have to work this job. They wish, but they don't take any inspired action to change those wishes into reality. So what is your plan? Okay, you must have a plan. And if you don't know the answer to these questions, then stop the recording right now and go and figure it out. Go out in nature. That's the best place to connect with the universe and to ground yourself and to get into alignment. So go out in nature and go and find the answers to these questions because they are life-changing. And if you're not asking these deeper, more empowering questions of yourself, no one else is going to ask them of you. No one else. So it's up to you to find them out. And then when you find out the answer, now you can start putting a blueprint together to start creating your days to look more like what they should look like in order to bring you more bliss and joy and happiness. So there's some of the empowering questions I wanted to start with, Joel.
It's amazing. Like, that's a great question. The who am I one. And I had a guy mention this in conversation to me. He goes, you are not who you think you are. You're not what people think you are. You are what you think people think you are. And I was like, wow, that's like so many people
So
walking
true.
around with masks on, right? You're just trying to fit in and be something that you're not. And you're just trying to fit in. And like, I've fallen into that for years and it's just a recipe for misery. So, asking those powerful questions is great. Like we were talking off air about some questions that I've mentioned on previous podcasts, but you know, if you don't ask questions like, what do I wish my life to look like? And actually sit down and write it down, like do it. Like, what do you want to be doing 10 years from now? Like, what do you want to be doing 2 years from now? You know, what do you need to be able to say that you did with your life, like spiritually, in your relationships, technically, financially, spiritually, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously that gives you a great, once you know what that is, you can work out what it's going to cost and you can start setting a plan. So you know where you're going, you know where you are, and you know, you just got to work out the first step. And then after that first step, the next step will reveal itself and you just keep going like that. And I think there's a section of the population that doesn't do any of that. And then there's a section of the population that does really well and they go to seminars and they do it and they write it all down in their books. And then they fall over because they don't actually take any action on it. And I think the biggest hurdle that causes procrastination and prevents people from living the life they want is because they're waiting for permission. And I think that they've got to stop asking for permission to do what you want. Like I've worked with people who've literally said, I just don't feel like I'm allowed to do this stuff. And I'm like, allowed? And they're like, yeah, I've just always, for anything I've done, I've gotten permission to do it. I'm like, well, you don't need permission. And just on the off chance that you do, I'm giving it to you now. Go do what you want. Because I don't know, Christine, I spent a long time trying to not ruffle any feathers. I tried to keep my head down and work hard and keep everyone happy. And then the universe gave me many lessons. And then I thought, all through that entire time, I had plenty of people that didn't like me, that didn't like what I was doing, didn't like what I stood for, whether I did something to them or not, or maybe someone just, like, it's obvious. Some people just don't like the look of my head, whatever it is. It's understandable. The people that are listening to the podcast rather than watching it on YouTube, yeah, you're the lucky ones, unless you just blank my page out and look at Christine. But like, all jokes aside, like, people are going to dislike you anyway. So they might as well dislike you while you're doing what you want and get what you want. Like, there's no rule saying that you've got to go spend a lot of money to buy a business. There's not one rule that says that. There's no rule that says you have to work 8 hours. There's no rule that says you got to work 2 hours. There's no rule that says you got to work 18 hours a day. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you just do what you want. Some people love working really hard. Some people have a humongous mission that they want to go for, and they're willing to do it. And then there's some people that just want to, be lazy. Like, from someone's perspective, you're going to be wrong. And from another person's perspective, you're going to be right. So just stop playing the hokey pokey. Just don't have one foot in one camp and one foot in the other. Like, if you've got a way that you want to live your life and a way you want to bring up your kids and you want to do things a certain way, like certain foods, you want to be, like, don't let someone else's opinion stop you. Like, I don't know, Christine, there's a lot of people out there that will say, oh, like, don't invest in real estate, or don't do network marketing, or don't be a coach, or you don't need a coach, or like, it's dangerous to start that business, or, let's get really controversial. Like, how many people are out there that are whinging about whether to have vaccines or not? Like, like, no matter what you do, some, like, politics, there's many sides, but two major sides everywhere. Like, you're always going to be upsetting someone. So just do you and be you and ask those questions. And then anyone that has an opinion, like, be reasonable. Like, if someone who I respect as an entrepreneur gives me their opinion, I take it on board. So if I'm doing something with my money and someone far richer than me or who knows about money comes and goes, Joel, you're being an idiot, you're showing off, or you're doing this or that, I'd pull your head in. I would take their opinion on board. But, Uncle Bill down the road, who's never done anything in his life, telling me that how I should be running my business or whatever, why would I listen to that? So just go do you. But as long as it's with integrity and you're not breaking the law or being, like, hurting other people, like, just go do you. And then when people don't like you, just, you got 2 feet and a heartbeat, you can walk away. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. So
yeah, I love that you brought that up and that we went off on that tangent, because it's so true. We are so quick to react and go on the defensive when someone gives us constructive feedback or criticism. And it happened to me recently. My first reaction was, oh, piss off. Like, I went into that. You got no idea. And then I was like, hang on a second. What's a more empowering question I could be asking? And I went to, is there truth? Is there any truth in what they're saying? And when I looked, there was truth in it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to now take this on board because I need to make some changes. This person's right. They've caught me on my BS. And something you said too, Joel, like, we're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And usually when there's someone that's, in your face and doesn't like you and is causing you drama, there's someone directly behind you who's got your back, you know? So you've always got the resources and the people around you that you need. And it's just that sometimes the negative Nancy's or the people that don't like you, they stand out because it doesn't happen that often, and they're usually quite noisy. But you know, for every person that you've got like that, you've got a tribe of people behind you that have totally got your back and are supportive of you and love everything about you. So and will accept you for who you are. So the main thing is that you accept yourself, you know, but you have to know who you are and what you stand for in order to do that. And you have to make sure that you're loving your whole person, not just half of you, not just the strengths and the bits that you like. Like, we all have bits that we don't like about ourselves, but you're never going to be the perfect person. So you're just going to have to own it all. And we've spoken about that before. But I want to attach some emotions to it because, you know, isn't that what we want in life? We want to feel a certain way, you know, where, you know, a lot of people chase happiness, for example. But rather than chasing happiness, like, let's be a little bit more emotionally intelligent. What are the emotions that you want to feel on a daily basis? And why are you not feeling those right now? Like, we come across a lot of people who are depressed or anxious, or, you know, things happen to them in life and they bounce back so much slower than people who are emotionally intelligent, that are able to kind of capture their emotions and flip it to more empowering ones. So I really want you to ask, like, what are the emotions that I've been experiencing a lot of lately, you know, and have a think about that and write it down if you have to. Like, pause this again and really write down what are the main emotions that you've been feeling most of the time recently. And then what are the emotions that you would love to be feeling more of? You know, what would you like if you're feeling depressed and anxious and lonely and sad and, you know, down and out, and like life is just not on your side at the moment? Then what are some of the emotions that you would love to feel rather than feeling those? And then what feelings do you want to experience in life? Like, let's look down the track. Like, if you're feeling depressed and down right now, like, how long do you want to feel like that? Do you want to feel like that for a day? Do you want to feel like that for a week? Do you want to feel like that for a year? So I know a lot of people that have let the years roll by feeling those emotions. And I know it's easy, and this is probably going to cause lots of controversy, but I've seen it happen where people are pulled out of these depressive states in an instant, in the click of a finger. It's not that it's easy, it's that simple. Like, when you figure out how to flick that switch and go from that depressive state and letting it affect you for months to bringing it back and letting it to affect you for minutes, like, when you can be that emotionally intelligent, your life changes. Things like, I expect to go out on a daily basis and just have a friggin' awesome day. Like, I don't expect anything bad to happen, but I know there's the flip side of that, where people who are in depressive states have those comments like, I knew that was going to happen. That always happens. You know, they're expecting that to happen. They expect that as soon as they walk out the door, they're going to get shitty service at the supermarket, something's going to happen, and then they're going to make themselves right because they knew that was going to happen, you know? But I leave my house expecting that I'm going to have the most amazing connections with people while I'm out at the shops. I'm going to get great service. You know, I never expect anything to go wrong. And that's what I attract, because that's the vibration that I put out there. So I want you to really think about this. Like, I know emotions and feelings and it's fluffy and it's la-di-da, but guys, like, if you want to feel happier, if you want a happier life, if you want to have more bliss and ecstasy and excitement and energy in your life, then you've got to start thinking about, well, how am I feeling right now? You've got to check in with where you are right now on an emotional scale. And the next time, like, negative emotions come up, you need to know and have in your tool belt some resources to be able to go, that thought or that negative emotion served me so well for so long, thank you, but now I'm choosing this emotion. I'm choosing to feel like this today. or thank you for that, I'm deciding to flip it. You know, there's so many different techniques. At the end of the day, they're all the same, but whatever you want to call it, but you've got to check in, guys. And checking in with your emotions is not only going to help you in your personal life, it's absolutely going to help you in your business life as well, in your professional life, and have better relationships and be able to cope better with stress as well. So gone a little bit deeper there, Joel, on the whole emotion thing. But I think it's an important one. And, you know, and I gave this advice to you recently as well, because it really helped me. I love the ocean. Like, the ocean allows me to cleanse my emotions. So if I've got a charge with someone or something, jumping in the ocean and going, you know what, as soon as I get out of this water, I'm cleansed. And this thing, this person or this emotion is not going to have any more power over me. And it's actually, I don't know, the science and everything behind it, but it works. So if you're near an ocean or a cold lake that you can jump in, or water just helps you cleanse those. And yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there as well, Joel.
Yeah, I think it's the electricity, the electrons, the energy from the particles moving really quickly. Yeah, I've heard that technique being used by someone who actually was one of the small group of people that actually has depression, not the I'm just trying to get out of shit kind. You know what I mean? I'm a sook kind. So that's how you get controversy. And if you're going to get controversy around that topic, that's how you say something like that and allow people to take it completely out of context. So that's how you do it. But yeah, he said that he would go surfing and the water would just quieten the voices and everything like that. So, and super successful guy, like just that just has demons to battle. So yeah, you have people like him and Andy Frisella that just, yeah, that they learn to manage it. So yeah, it's like, it's funny that you said that before as well. Like if you're expecting to see something, you'll see it, because your brain's hardwired to make you be right. It wants to make you, your subconscious wants you to get what you want. So if you're actively looking for a party to be, if you go to a party and you think it's going to be a dive, you'll walk in and you'll start looking for reasons why it's a dive. If you walk in thinking it's going to be amazing, you're going to walk in and start finding things to back up that you're right. So yeah, that's why. So that's a really good tip. One thing that has happened recently for me, which we want to go deep on something, I think is that I've recently been working on some stuff in the background in one of my businesses, and so far it's looked to become very, very, it was a very good deal. And it's probably it could end up being where it's probably put me in nearly the best position I've ever been in my life. And I was walking along the street feeling broker than I've ever been before. And I'm like, why is my mind doing that? Like, I literally was walking along. I can still remember where I was. And I was like, why do I feel so poor? You know what I mean? And I'm just like, that's what your brain does. And if I hadn't learned to like notice that, I could have felt really, really terrible for weeks about that. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to sabotage it. And then I'm going to, like, things are just not going to work out for me. So what I do is, I literally just went, wow. Like, so first of all, you go back, you find something to counteract it. So gratitude, and just also being really curious that, hang on a minute, that's not my thought. There's no truth to this. And then if there was truth to it, I'd be like, okay, so how do I make this better? Like, what have I got to do to get this to happen, to get the result I want? So those questions that we're asking before, there's going to be people that say, you can't do that, or that's not how it is. And then you got to say, well, how do we make this happen? You know? So I don't know, short interlude, Christine, but how many times does that, I think what many people do is they see the Instagram highlight reel, or they think, they might be thinking with our stuff like, hey, we see Christine and Joel on social media. They're going well. They do all this stuff. They're inspiring, or maybe they're the other crowd that don't like us, but whatever. And they think that we've got it all going on. But I reckon I have limiting beliefs. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was not hundreds of times a day. I've always got something in my head just going, don't do that. Here's an excuse. Here's a reason why you can't do that. This doesn't work. This industry is not good anymore. Like there's so, look at this thing that happened to me. Like I get that all the time. And I've just got I've trained myself over the years to like, just ask better questions. You know, I'm not making statements. So if my brain makes a statement, this is really bad, or this business has failed, I'm like, well, how do I make this better? What has to happen for me to turn this around? You know, like recently there was another business deal that I had, and I like on paper, I shouldn't be able to do it. But then all I did is I asked, who do I need to call that can make this happen for me? How do I make this happen? And is it still a good idea to make it happen if I can, you know, because sometimes you can go down the rabbit hole and it's a dumb idea. But I don't know, Christine, do you like someone who's is inspiring? I hear it all the time that you're so inspiring, you're full of energy and all that kind of stuff. Do you ever, do you face this on a daily basis too? Like regular basis anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. I have so many like you, limiting beliefs that pop up throughout the day. And I have a million ideas. Like I have so many my ideas running through my head, especially when I go for a jog. And Joel's quite often at the end of my voice messages when I'm halfway through a jog, and I just have to get it down and get it out and get my ideas to someone. But it's that whole thing of, you know, what separates people that are out there doing the do is that they have learnt to manage that voice. They've learnt to conquer that voice, and, you know, speed of implementation is so important when you have these ideas, when you have the voice coming through, just implementing what's in your heart. You know, a lot of people will do what they think they're supposed to do rather than what they want to do. So we want you guys living life on your terms, not on other people's terms. Like we want you to be the boss of your life. That's why we do this podcast, you know, to help you guys really shine a light on your destiny. And what we're seeing out there is so many people have amazing ideas, but they don't act on them because they think they're not good enough. They have these limiting beliefs that come up and they start believing them, which makes them right, which is what Joel was speaking about before. Like our brain wants to make us right. So by us not taking action, we're actually making these limiting beliefs true. And then we form this identity around it and how we're not that type of person. And I get really, I don't know, I get a bit funny when people say, you know, Christine, you're so inspiring, because I don't see myself as inspiring. I just see myself as, you know, someone out there that's just living life on my terms, and I'm not doing anything special. Like there's a lot of other people out there that are doing some superhuman things that I'm just like, whoa, that's inspiring. Like, you know, people that are just so skilled at their talents and everything, and pushing the limits of, you know, their own humanity and, you know, their human abilities. So yeah, for me, it's just like, I'm really comfortable with who I am. And I think that's what people find inspiring, because people don't have the courage to be themselves these days. And I do. And it's taken a lot of time to get there, you know, and it's comes back to just really owning who you are, but really knowing who you are and what you stand for. Now, I've got a lot of strong beliefs about a lot of things, but I'm not that person that's going to voice them and push them on other people, you know, and I think that's important as well. Like, yes, you know who you are and who you stand for and what you value, but not everyone has to hear your opinion all the time. Does that make sense?
Makes heaps of sense, because I know people that think that their opinion is so amazing they need to tell everyone. So it gets a bit boring. But I love the fact that I think it's just I've got older. I don't need to be right anymore. I can honestly sit there and go, well, I feel like I'm right from my perspective, but I don't, like, that doesn't mean that I'm right. Like I've had arguments with people that, and fallouts with people. And I think, well, so many people, when that happens to them, they sit there and they're expecting an apology, but from the other person's perspective, they don't have anything to say sorry for. So you spend all this time holding on to the BS, and then you're waiting for an apology that's never going to happen. So it's crazy. But I think, like, the topic of this podcast is to really, it's time to stop and think. And I believe at the time of recording, we're in an economic winter. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's crazy. People are definitely out of their comfort zone. There's a lot of people out there that are living in even more fear than they were before, which was already significant. And I think, like, Chris, I know, Christine, you've got a story where you had your wake-up call. You probably had many, and I've had many as well. I had a significant one about 5 or 6 years ago now, and I think it actually gave me the strength to handle this. Like, it's water off a duck's back to me right now. I'm not worried about anything. What will be will be. I know I can face just about anything that gets thrown at me. Touch wood, that I don't have to find out that that's not true. But I'm pretty comfortable in where I'm going. And so if the listeners right now are under that stress as well, and they feel like they're getting their wake up call now, and they could be in darkness. Well, it's always darkest before the dawn, right? Before the sunrise. So this will be your story of strength one day. But the question I want to ask you, Christine, is, I know for sure that if I hadn't listened to my wake up call and actually taken the time to stop and think and answer those questions we said previously, what do I really want in my life, and then take action towards it? Like, where would you be? Like, I know that if I didn't get my wake up call and I didn't ask those questions, I wouldn't have seen, like, I've lived in an amazing apartment on the beach. I would have missed literally hundreds and hundreds of sunrises over the ocean. And I was so scared to rent that place out because it was like out of my league at the time, or so I thought. But obviously it wasn't out of my league. I found a way. And then, I currently live on a lake, and it's, I've traveled the world, stuff that I'd never done before. Had I not taken the time to stop and think, what is it that I really want? So, like, what would your life look like if you didn't have that? What do you think you would have missed out on?
Oh, I would have missed out on the freedom and the flexibility that I get to have today. I was stuck in the corporate world, and I thought that's was life. That's what you had to do. You had to be an employee and, stay loyal. We were actually paid to move for this company, and you were paid to stay there for a certain amount of years. And if you left early, you had to pay back what they paid you. So, that was my life. It was totally different to what it looks like today. Like, I was having afternoon naps under my desk, like closing my office and making it look like I was out in a meeting or something, just so I could get some sleep in the afternoon. I was exhausted. And I was working with a lot of fun people, but I also was working with a lot of negative people. It was very stressful. And it's just chalk and cheese to the life that I get to live today. My health, everything suffered back then. And now I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I have great relationships. I get to choose who I work with, and I've got the freedom and the flexibility to be there for my children when they need it, my partner, my family. Like, I've just moved my family like a year ago, 16 hours away, just to be here to support my parents. Like, it's crazy. There's no way I could have done that if I was, still back there where I was. So, sometimes when we're in it, we can't see because we've never done the thing that we can't see. So, like, when I was in the corporate world, I didn't know that this world existed because I was so caught up. I wasn't asking the questions. I wasn't taking the time to stop and think about who I was and what I stood for. The company told me who I was and what to stand for. You know what I mean? Like it was dictating every part of my life. And it was only when I started to think, oh, I'm not built for the corporate world. Like this is not how I want to make an impact. This is not legacy building. I want to help people. And that's when I became a personal trainer. And then I started to feel more like myself. I'm like, wow, this is more in alignment with who I am. You know, this is like, I'm making a difference now. That is what drives me, making a difference in people's lives. You know, I just love helping people grow and evolve and, you know, make positive changes, empowering changes, creating the lifestyle that they want. So, you know, if you're listening to this and you feel like you where I was, you know, and in that corporate world as well, like I was in a marriage that was, you know, we had a lot of challenges having kids and everything like that. Like there was just so many pressures around that time. And I know that people look at my life now and I've got, you know, an amazing partner and beautiful kids, but like it was a totally different world back there for me. And some people are where I was. You know, I know some people are in relationships that are not going great. I know people are, you know, on that roller coaster of trying to have kids and being told you may not ever be able to have kids and, you know, going through IVF and going through those challenges. I get it. I get that life is happening to us all the time, but you get to choose how you show up. You get to choose the more empowering questions. Like, you know, one question that I've been taught by one of my mentors, Linda Everton, is, you know, she always gets you to ask, what's good about this? Doesn't matter how crappy the situation is, she gets you to flip your perception and goes, you know, go deeper, like what's good about this right now? And we could say it with what's going on in the world right now. Look at all the good that has come out of this crazy situation that we find ourselves in. Like if you ask yourself that question, and I ask all my team, when something not so nice is going on for them, I always say, well, what's good about it? What's the lesson? What can we take away from this? You know, because there is always a lesson. And, you know, some more questions that I love to ask myself, especially at the end of the day, is, you know, what went really well? So stop and think about your day. What went really well today? And maybe there's some things that you didn't quite get right. So what are the changes now that you can make tomorrow? And what am I really grateful for right now? And who's someone in my life that makes me really happy right now? You know, these are just everyday questions that you can ask yourself while you're in the shower or doing your makeup or getting ready for work. Like, ask yourself these questions because you've got to stop and think, guys. You've got to stop and think. Otherwise, the noise and the chatter and all that external influence is going to take over. It's going to distract you from who you really are at the core, and you're going to get lost in it. And that's where you do start feeling disconnected from yourself. And I've been there, and it's not a nice place to be. And it's frustrating. And that's when you start to play below the line, when you start blaming other people, you start feeling resentment, but it's because you've allowed to be externally influenced. So now we've gone off on another tangent, Joel. How can we bring this back?
I think that was right on point, to be honest. Like it's just like, I guess when we really get down to it, the purpose of this podcast, and I know we have these amazing ways of saying it, but what we really want you to do is just give yourself permission to think differently. You know, if you're following the rest of society, then like ask yourself, is that in your best interest? Like who says you can't just stop and ask yourself, is this what I really want out of my life? Is this how I want it to look? Is this how I wanted my book to be written? If someone was writing your life story, who's holding the pen? Is it you or someone else? Are you doing it because some expectation that you think that your parents had, or a partner, or who knows? There's so many. So like, if you've got a chance, like take an hour a week to work on your life without being in it. You know, we're in our lives, we're floating along, we're doing what we've got to do. Just take 1 hour. And if you could just doing that 1 hour, you could only just get 1% closer to your goals. and 1% improvement, like over 12 months, if you can do like 1% a day, it's simple. It's 360 plus % improvement. Like, wouldn't you like, so you start listing the things in your life that you want, like better health. Wouldn't you want 360% better health than you have right now? Like, what about relationships with your partner? You know? And I guess, Christine, at the end of it, like for me to finish up, honestly, is like, what are you just not facing? What are you not facing? Take the time to stop and think and just realize that, like, the light is on the other side of the void, really. What are you not facing by just being following the sheep and doing what you think you should, and, you know, what everyone else is doing? For God's sake, don't do what everyone else is doing, because most people's lives stink. So go follow the crazy ones. I don't know. And maybe you're not as crazy as them, but I know that even if I was half as crazy as half the people I hang out with, I'm going to have more fun than if I'm just floating along, not even checking in to see if I'm doing what I want. Hey, maybe you check in and you are doing what you want. Cyber high five, but isn't it worth at least checking out? So that's me. I reckon this has been super valuable.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And I just wanted to finish on this note, because it takes courage. It takes courage to look within. And I think a lot of people don't take the time to stop and think about who they really are and who they want to be or who they want to become, because they're scared. You know, there's fear around what they're going to find. You know, we've all got our battle scars. We do. And some of them are really painful. And I just want to give you guys some hope and inspiration today that, you know, just because you've suffered in the past or you've had things happen, like you don't have to keep repeating the same chapter. You know, you hold the pen and you can totally rewrite that next chapter, that next line, you know, and this story will end how you want it to end. You know, so don't let the past define you. Don't live there, okay? Make sure you are asking these deeper questions and thinking about what you want your life to look like in the next 12 months, in the next 5 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 50 years. You know, for me, yep, I've definitely got 50 plus years left in me, hitting our 40s. I would definitely want to hit that 100, triple figures, and I want other people there with me. So longevity and vitality and health are, you know, major, you know, values for me, you know, and every day it's the compound effect. I'm doing something every day that is working me towards those goals. You know, I'm not out there going through drive-throughs and getting smashed every night and, you know, eating all the inflammatory foods that I know are going to make my body acidic and everything like that. That's not who I am or what I stand for. I want longevity and I want a quality life. And so I'm doing things today, not 10 years time. I'm doing things today that are getting me towards that goal. But that's what I want, guys. Like, what do you want? And what can you start doing on a daily basis to get you closer to the goals that you want? Because so many people keep putting it off because we feel like we're going to live forever. And guess what? Our days are numbered. Tomorrow is never promised. Okay, so go out there and start implementing some of the stuff that we've spoken about. Start asking more of these empowering questions and have fun with it. Like, get to know yourself. This is the fun bit. You can reinvent, recreate yourself, whatever you like. If you don't like the person that you are, then change. You know, you're not a tree. You're not rooted to the ground. You don't just stand there. Like, evolve, people, you know, and make it fun. You know, there's definitely been times where I've embodied some traits that I thought I wanted to embody, but at the end of the day, they actually didn't make me a better person. So I got rid of those ones. So just keep evolving, keep reinventing, and keep stopping on a regular basis to think about what it is that you really want in life and who you are. And at the end of the day, as Curic Ashley, I think he says it best in his book, at the end of the day, all that really matters is, did you love, did you live, and did you matter? And I think if you keep asking yourself that, am I living, am I loving, and do I really matter? then you'll start doing things that, you know, are more purposeful and more meaningful in your life. So that's it from me, Joel. We will see you guys on our next podcast.
Damn.